Hello, and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and I'm very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have a very special show. I have invited back Buddha Maitreya the Christ. Buddha has been a guest on the show a few times in the past, right around this time of Vesak, which is a very special Buddhist ceremony, ritual time of honoring the life, the passing, and the enlightenment of the Buddha. Well, Buddha Maitreya presents us all with a really interesting understanding, an expanded understanding, if you will, of the nature of reality, that there are these things called incarnations. And many of us have really embraced that over the course of many years and decades, and others have not. But when you hear the story, which Buddha Maitreya will be opening up with, about his own personal self and his Buddha self, it may expand your thinking, your purview, your mind. And I would invite that because I think it's very healthy to have one's mind blown and to expand it to its farthest reaches, a new paradigm, if you will, for some of you, not all. And from that, after hearing about his incarnation, the current one, we'll go into a larger dialogue about the nature of things today, the nature of reality, you could say, here specifically on planet Earth, and what's going on, the forces, the powers that are moving, the motion of time and nature, environment, and social forces all interacting in a convergence that has us all sort of looking around, wondering what's next, not sure if we should be laughing out loud or we should be crying for days. Well, today we'll be listening to Buddha Maitreya give us some guidance about this so we can all get more grounded, more centered, and able to be active participants in the solutions of helping to bring our society, our planet, to another operating level, another evolutionary step. So with that, Buddha Maitreya, I would like so much to welcome you to A Better World.
Thank you. Hello, and thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you back again. So if you would, as we discussed before, please open up a little bit and share with us a little of the remarkableness, if you will, of your incarnation here on the earth at this point in time, how it came about, how you discovered that you are in fact the current incarnation of the Buddha for our audience.
Okay. A lot of people know of the movie Little Buddha, and they know the relationship of the manifestation of a tuku in America, recognized by Tibetans as a senior teacher of Tibetan Buddhism, and recognized when he was 9 years old. And everybody knows that. Most people know that movie. That's a true story. I gave that story, that teaching in London when I was there for about a 4 or 5 year period. I was teaching about the incarnation, coming incarnation of the Karmapa and its present problem, which no one knew of. And I was teaching about the incarnation of Jesus as the coming reality of what's known as the Buddha Maitreya in Buddhism. So it was a lot of teaching I did for quite a few years. I taught it kind of like John the Baptist rather than telling anybody who I was. I basically just gave the teachings. I was enthroned in Tibetan Buddhism. In Tibetan Buddhism, since I was 9 years old, I was recognized, and my parents wouldn't allow me to go. It wasn't like in the movie. In real reality, my parents were extremely upset. My father's a Blackfoot Indian, full-blooded, and my mother is Native American and Cherokee. And so we were just outside the reservation. And at that time in the 50s, to be a Native American and outside the reservation was not a good idea. You really can't buy homes, and you can't own the house, and things of that was reality at the time. So my father didn't want anybody to know that we were Native American. And when these Tibetans came, it brought attention to our house, to our family. It totally freaked out my father. So he very much had to make them leave. And that was his mind. That was where he was coming from, other than the fact that they told him that I was the reincarnation of Jesus and incarnation of Buddha. That was a big thing for them to deal with too, because I'm just a little 9-year-old boy. Yeah.
Even in your own family.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a matter of self-preservation for them.
Yeah, it was a big shock. And they called all the neighbors and they called all my relatives to see whether or not somebody was pulling a joke, and come to find out it was all true. They received letters later thanking them for the visit and allowing them in the house, and told them that I'm sure that it would work out, that I'm Buddha, reincarnation of Jesus. And as time goes on, I'll work it all out on my own. And if I need to go back into Tibetan Buddhism, I'll do that. You know, so, and that's what happened when I turned around 30.
Is the assumption inside that Buddha that Christ is Jesus Christ, the incarnation of the Buddha?
Yeah, always has been, never been anybody else. The truth is, it's the avatar, the incarnation of the avatar, which is a very different species to the human kingdom and the animal kingdom and the vegetable kingdom and the mineral kingdom. There is the kingdom of the soul. Yeah, and in the kingdom of the soul is where the avatar incarnates, which would be an incarnation of a soul. Tibetan Buddhism, they're called Rinpoches or Tukus, incarnation of the soul, soul boy. Yeah, so that was me. Yeah, and I started that, and everybody in process of Tibetan Buddhism learned about that through me. All my incarnations, whether it be Gautama Buddha or Padmasambhava or Tsongkhapa or Milarepa. Yes. Yeah, and I've been enthroned back in Tibet as being the reincarnation of all of those other lives. So there is a synthesis for everybody in the teaching of Buddhism. Because they're great students, they're able to bridge the many different areas of delusion and illusion, which is the purpose of Buddhism in the first place. And they're able to come to the point of recognizing me during the time of them having a Dalai Lama and the strife between the Karmapas and all the dilemmas in Tibetan Buddhism, being kicked out and all those bad Chinese, and all that kind of stuff. I don't see it at all that way.
Strife and conflict that exists there as it exists elsewhere. People sometimes tend to idolize and deify because there's a religious character to it. But in fact, these are human beings dealing with the same issues as human beings do in the lay world.
Well, in Tibetan Buddhism, the reality is that they were practitioners of Satanism, that they were a very bond society as practitioners of Satanism. They focus on the relationship of, yes, they control elements, rocks, stones, human heart, human mind. All the emotional astral plane of this planet is created through Tibetan Buddhism. And Tibetan Buddhism goes back tens of thousands of years and affected the relationship of Hinduism, the avatar incarnation, and even the incarnation of Jesus. As myself, I went back into Srinagar. I went to India. I went to many different places of my previous lives. And while I was in Srinagar, I went into a monastery called Hemis Monastery. And there they recognized me as a young man as the reincarnation, and of Buddha himself. And they received teachings. I was a student there for over 10 years, and I focused through that was my recapitulation of studying all those ancient texts, along with being in India, studying there and everywhere. So I synthesized. What's that?
Sanskrit or
Yeah,
Pali?
in Pali. Yeah, it was during the time back in.
Pali.
Yeah, in Jesus' life, I was very fluent in about 4 different languages. Yeah, and I traveled throughout India. I traveled throughout Nepal, Bhutan, and Tibet. So the languages that were there. I remember it very clearly. Yeah, I have no problem remembering it. And I remember not only that, but my other lives as Padmasambhava and Tsongkhapa. Yeah. Yes.
And even Shakyamuni,
Oh,
the
yeah.
original Dharma,
Yes. Yeah, I remember.
Buddha.
Yeah, yeah. Every day. Yeah. It's always a recapitulation because I have very singular lives. My life is the life of the avatar, and that's a very rare life. There aren't any other lives like it. So my recapitulation is easy to remember. I have history books all around the earth based on my lives. It's very different than everybody else.
Yes, indeed.
Very different, yes.
When you first, if I may ask, when you first cognized the reality of who you were according to these teachings, because when you were growing up to age 9, you probably not even heard of Tibetan.
Oh.
Yet internally, you were who you were. So I'm wondering, what did it feel like for you at the moment when the inner life and the outer life met?
Well, I was very, very young.
Self-recognized.
Yeah, I was very, very young. Yeah, when I was 2 years old, my mom kept telling me this story that when I was 2 years old, I spent a lot of time sleeping. I didn't wake up. I stayed asleep. And during that time, for about a week, I had the dream of myself as being Krishna. My name was Krishna. I was a little boy. I had all these circumstances as a normal little boy, but yet I was the avatar incarnated, so I was extremely wise, extremely enlightened, not like a little boy, not like a baby. Yeah, so that was my memory. That 2-week period, I experienced my life as Krishna. So when I came back out of my sleep, I started saying, "Oh, I'm Krishna," and my mom would go, "Wow, I know who Krishna is. That's amazing. How could you know? You're only 2." And my very first words was telling my mom who I am as Krishna. And then another year or so after that, I went through a long sleep process, and I was Jesus. But that one went on for about 3 or 4 times. And in the process, it continued through almost the whole life. The early stage of Jesus as a little child, later on at 13 or 14 when I was being forced to try and be married, and the amount of anxiety I was going through. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were pushing marriage between 14 and 16, and it was intense. And I was a yogi, was not interested in being married whatsoever, and I just wanted to study. I wanted to recapitulate. I wanted to be myself. And my parents were very much against it. My mother was extremely against it. And, so I had to leave, and I ran away. And so from there I went to India, and...
Oh, that's right. That's when you went maybe to Nevada or something like that, and that was a whole other next stage of your life. But your mother told you these stories.
No, I told from my dreams. I told my mother from my dreams. Yeah, and then as life went on, my mother would retell me, when you were 2 years old, you were telling me that you were Krishna and this and that, So she would remember these things, and then she'd go, and then later you tell me you're Jesus, And then as time went on, right around the time when I was around 8 or 7, National Geographic came on TV, and the Dalai Lama was being enthroned as a young boy. And he and Ling Rinpoche, who was previous life brother to the Dalai Lama in another life, they were in the same cart. And I saw them, and I got so upset, saying, he's not who they think he is. They're supposed to be enthroning me. And I'm saying this, screaming at the TV, screaming at my parents. And I had no reason to say it. It was my reaction. And then about 1.5 years later, the Tibetans show up at the door. Yeah, it was amazing.
Do you know who it was in the lineage? It certainly wasn't His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
No.
And those monks.
No, it was it was the combined effort of the Panchen Lama and the Karmapa. The Kagyu lineage. The Kagyu lineage is my closest lineage of this life that I've I hold the strongest lineage connection to, and I protect them. I'm 100% responsible for protecting that lineage. So that's why I would step in with the Karmapa, I would step in with Sharmapa, I would step in and take responsibility of all of their monasteries, even though I'm just a Western guy walking around, But every time I went to Nepal or Tibet, I'd be recognized for who I am and be honored and enthroned, and then I can carry out these things.
That's extraordinary. Now,
Yeah.
did you have the chance, or did Trungpa Rinpoche have the chance to meet you
No.
in this life?
No, Trungpa Rinpoche went bad. He went rogue. He did this many incarnations ago, and there are many inside that lineage that have gone rogue, and they split up from the relationship of Jomkang Kongtrul Rinpoche was the reincarnation of Ananda. And Ananda is the nephew to Gautama Buddha. And so to have that in your midst, to have this person in your midst, and you know it, and you don't recognize that person as the senior lineage incarnation of the group, yeah? And it was recognized by the Karmapa, it was recognized as Heart Sons, and he was one of the leading member Heart Son, Jomkang Kongtrul Rinpoche. But then Taisata Rinpoche got all egotistical and fashionable and started doing things 3 lives ago. And in that, he affected the father of Kalu Rinpoche, who he then pushed him, Kalu Rinpoche. He pushed the Kalu Rinpoche, the young boy. Yeah, he pushed the Kalu Rinpoche, the young boy, to not go back into the lineage of Jomkang Kongtrul Rinpoche. Yeah, there were 5 emanations of Jomkang Kongtrul Rinpoche. One of them is Kalu Rinpoche, and there are many others, but they've all separated as emanations, and they hold their own separate throne seats and their own separate lineage-like scenario. And it's not a truth. It's a lesser truth. And it happened during the time when the Karmapa was kicked out of the Tibetan system by the Dalai Lama, and he was made into a impoverished man who had to walk the country for a whole incarnation, completely impoverished. And the Shambhala Rinpoche wasn't allowed to take an incarnation because the Dalai Lama was threatened by the Kagyu lineage. So for many generations previous to now, that event was happening. And my lineage, my group, were attacked by the Galupa sect. And yet I am the founder of the Galupa sect, so it's a real problem. There's many, I can go on and on and on, of all my responsibility in this lineage. It's where I went.
I don't know if you knew this, but I took the vow with Kalu Rinpoche in New York City back in the early 1980s at Chakra Abhisheka, when he was here to do that as a Lama, not connected, as you were saying, actually, to any particular lineage, as far as I knew. So it's very interesting, all that you're saying to me, because I've been involved to some extent many years ago.
Yeah.
So it is awesome. So wherever we look, heaven or earth, there are these conflicts that seem utterly archetypal to life itself in every dimension. Is that
Well, there is a science. As Buddha, there is a science. Yeah, we know the causal aspect of things. Yeah, they're elemental. They have natural qualities to them, and they're flipped from vice. That's all the things we're dealing with in this world, and glamours. And whether or not there are virtues that could flip those things. They're the very opposite of the qualities of the glamours and the vices, that all humanity have elementals in them that they do not have the power to release and get rid of. That's the purpose of Jesus the Christ. Now, even though I'm Buddha, I am only here as Jesus the Christ. You can call me Buddha Maitreya, call me anything you want, but know that I'm Jesus the Christ, and that people absolutely need to understand the reason why I went through what I went through, and that regeneration process of resurrection is something that no one can give anybody. That was something God did for his son. And that retribution, the energy of all the curses of humanity, is released by that act. So if people can understand this and bring that into them and make a connection with Jesus and all my other lives, Krishna, every life, all good things come from this, and everybody has a life in all my previous lives. So if they stand with Jesus, they can overcome the false teachers. You may have something going on thinking, well, the Dalai Lama's an okay guy. I can tell you for the fact the Dalai Lama's not an okay guy. And he's not just not an okay guy. He is a guy who holds rhythm and rhyme over the relationship of illusion and delusion. He holds the vices in holding steadiness. He keeps anything in the light from coming into manifestation and turning the wheel of dharma. He holds the function of stopping the wheel of dharma. The Karmapa himself said this was going to happen.
I'm sorry?
The Karmapa himself said that this was going to happen, and it's going to affect his reincarnation during his 17th incarnation. And during the time between the 16th and the 17th incarnation of the Karmapa, he had prophesied quite a while back that there would be an incarnation who would take over the throne on the highest level of Tibetan Buddhism, and that person would be a demon. So we're not dealing with problems here that can't be solved. I'm just saying, turn your heart to Jesus. Turn your devotion to Jesus. And let it all come together. Let it all work itself out. Because I'm working on the demons. I know who they are. I know their names. I know their locations. And they are being busted every second I'm alive. So just give all that responsibility to me.
That actually offers a segue to the second part, because you've spoken eloquently and heartfully about your own personal past. And of course, I can tell you I have, as the Taoists would say, 10,000 questions that I would love to ask you, but we'll not explore that now because there are other matters at hand, such as the demonic, which I believe that we are facing
100%
by day. Our common sense is completely overturned by irrational self-interest, which is plummeting our country and our beautiful world, even though it has so many flaws. Understood, humans have so many flaws, but indeed we have a level of intelligence that can really collectively put us back onto a track of harmony with nature and with ourselves and with each other. I truly, truly believe. So I would love to hear what you have to say, Buddha, about this and where we are and what demons we need to be challenging. I guess you especially.
Yeah. Avarice. Avarice is your problem. Right now, you are singularly under the control of avarice. Mr. Trump, who you call the president, is a lunar lord who is in charge of an enormous amount of the elements of avarice. He does not have any relationship to heart or connection to telepathy, empathy, intuition. His guidance is held by enormous amount of personality control. And he has to control all the personalities around him by using aggression. He has to tear people down to bring himself up because he's a liar. And there are all these certain vices that you have to pull off to be a lunar lord, and he has all of them. So we are in a deep. A lunar lord is a being. Yeah, a lunar lord is, let's say you take a human being, and that human being has virtues. They have care, they have kindness. They immediately have these 7 virtues that are qualified by God. And then there are also 7 vices. And in the commandments and all the relationships that are in Christianity, it's a way to stop those vices from manifesting. The biggest ones is murder, lying, thief, things like that. Yeah, he carries all those things in his common nature. He can't help it. It's his nature. Yeah, when it's the nature, the person is a lunar lord. They're led by witches. Witches and warlocks who are constantly reincarnated. You can call them Hitler, Mussolini, Genghis Khan. These people reincarnate. They reincarnate. They come back and they continue as a collective of lunar lords. Yeah? It's my job to recognize those lunar lords and begin transmitting to them the process of their judgment, the end of the cycle of which they can express these lunar qualities and get other people to channel them through the astral plane, which is what witches and warlocks are doing in the background. Yeah? They're fostering the psychic influence of people to listen to this lower nature rather than higher self and higher truths. So we are right now, we are in a process to where with coronavirus and everything, we all have to choose virtue. We have to choose whether or not we're a virtuous person or are we a selfish person. And what level of selfish are we? Are we willing to kill people due to ignorance? You know, all these different things are wiping away lower elemental forces that are coming from these lunar lords, and we're given the choice to behave better. And by our behavior, we're clearing karma. So as this next year goes by, we won't have that president anymore. We will be higher in our consciousness, and we will choose people that are like-minded, soulful human beings. And life will continue on like that, but we're going to start continually watching these lunar lords have less power over humanity, and we'll witness the fact that all people who follow them carry guns and are very aggressive and are willing to go against all common sense. And that slowly but surely becomes blessed. Yeah, through redemption, through my light. There's no judgment on anything that's going on from me because I have a full understanding of what's going on. There's a doctor in the house, yeah?
Yes. That's very relieving to hear, because it doesn't look like there's a doctor in the house anywhere.
I'm here 100%. I'm just behind the scene. I can't be walking around standing next to President Trump and defeating him by word. But what I can do is build this monastery that I built with pyramids and geometric forms, and my pujas going on 24 hours a day, blessing the earth itself. And by blessing the earth, I'm radiating in from the kingdoms below to the kingdoms above. And I'm standing at the top of the kingdom, the very top of the kingdom, and everybody's being lifted up to me. Not a single soul will be dropped behind. All people will reincarnate from death and come back as a soulful being from moment to moment, life after life. This is all that's going to happen. I'm just resurrecting souls and bringing people into a better world. Kind of good for your show.
I guess we're in resonance here. Well, no, you're bringing forward, Buddha, a very longed-for point of view, because because of the level of destructiveness, ignorance, avarice, as you say, it gives one pause and doubt about what the future will really hold. And of course, we cling to hope as we normal, ordinary human beings with our flaws and limited consciousness cling to hope as the stepladder to a potentially wonderful, evolved future. But it's also true that it's easy to weep at the crimes and the karma that is besieging us everywhere. So to hear someone speak with the clarity with which he's speaking.
Well, there's a big thing. You know, I tell you about the Dalai Lama, yeah? And you know the Catholic Church is all satanic, 100%. It does not have any relationship to Jesus Christ. It is a cult of the goddess cult of Lucifer. Go to Easter. Listen to it every Sunday. Listen to the whole prayer. It is Ishtar, that is not Easter. Ishtar is a focus of Lucifer. They say it over and over again. Their relationship is to Lucifer, not Jesus Christ. And they use Mary, a delusionary principle of a human being that gave birth to me, but there's nothing to that. Nothing to it. I'm immaculately conceived. I'm immaculately conceived. I'm the avatar. I'm always immaculately conceived. I do not have a mother. I do not have a father on earth. I only have my Father. That's it. And so does everybody else. And that needs to get cleaned up. This pagan reality is killing us all.
That's extraordinary.
All the perversion that's hidden. The Pope hides perversion.
Going to the etymology, Buddha, of Lucifer,
Yeah.
of course, is Lux Lucus, from the Latin, and it literally, as you well know, means light bearing. Are you saying that's part of
He's,
the
Lucifer is Satan. Lucifer is Satan. Light bearing means that he says his light is greater than God, therefore, or equal to God. Therefore, he could be God if he tries hard enough, like Trump. Yeah? It's the same thing, trying to roll in to become something he's not. And in order to become that, he has to erase God. So everybody in the world questions whether or not God even exists. Who is this Jesus guy? Why aren't we all Muslim? All these things are going on because of this reality. Yeah? So it's just a matter of cleaning that up. There's so many lunar lords out there. You have no idea. I mean, people go to the Catholic Church and pay for all of that, and there are hundreds of thousands of little boys were molested and raped and then become homosexual. And then they blame that on themselves, as would anybody who's raped. They always say, oh, I did something. I must be the person who did it. It's a horrible thing because of the element of demons goes into that person and they take it on and they go down the ladder in that process of perversion. They manifest the elements that was done to them. So many of those kids turn out to be gay, and a lot of them turn out to be perverts in relationship to pedophilia. And they can't help it because they're demonized. They have demons put into them, and they turn into the qualities of those demons. Once I heal all this, we're going to find what demons are because they go away.
They do. So
Yes.
tell a little bit, if you would, about the process you engage in to help to neutralize through transmission. What's that? Tell us more about it.
Well, I live a life of Jesus Christ 24/7. I am not a religion. I'm not a church or something like that. I'm me. I'm the only one existing. Yeah. So I have abilities. I have ability to heal the whole world. I can heal every single living person. Yeah. No matter what you got going on, I can heal you from it. Yeah. I could do more than that. I can put into my voice pujas and prayers, invocations and evocations.
This is from
Yeah.
you.
That's right. Yeah. 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 And all this science that I do connects people to my Father. Connects them to my Father. That's my job. And my Father rules over this earth, rules over the cosmos, rules over all things that exist. Yeah? So there's a science to it, and it's based on angelic reality. Yeah? Before there was matter, there was angels. Yeah? And that is where I'm standing. It's in that influence, that quality that I resurrect in people. So I use all these tools called Metatronics, the angel Metatron, yeah, which is the Son of God. Yeah, it's also my incarnation. Yeah, the influence of Jesus is the incarnation of Metatron. The influence of the Buddha is the incarnation of Metatron. It's the Son of God. Yeah, so that influence is what I put into the earth to cause ascension. Create an ascension in the earth, resurrecting the earth from all of our deaths. Every life that we go through, I bless it. Yeah, and I move that up through sacred geomancy. Yeah? Everything on our earth is based in sacred geomancy. Our cells, our body, our trees, our plants, our animals are all a blessing created by the mind of God. Yeah? And that's what I do. I facilitate God's mind, God's will, God's action, God. Yeah? Yeah? So everything, whether all my solar forms, my music, I do pujas and music that are not exactly on the top 10, but if you use them, they'll save your soul. They'll save your soul. They'll save the planet. They'll end the virus if you use my music.
What is your sense of what this virus is?
The virus is an externalization of evil. It's a process. Every single unhealthy factor inside of a human being is a factor of holding back the light. So there's a healing. Every healing that takes place has a crisis to it, a healing crisis. So those are the things that we look at that are killing our ass. Yeah, whether it be cancer or leukemia or even car accidents. It's a healing crisis. Yeah. So on this level, we see the virus, it's on a healing crisis, and it's actually a virus, and it's so hard. And we literally, the only way we can take care of this is by us realizing that we're actually in a great blessing all the time, constantly. God's mind is playing this thing out all the time. But there is an evil force that is working within God's creation, and it creates these viruses. It creates unhealthiness, yeah, imbalance. It changes the chakra system totally inside of a person to where they follow someone like the lunar lords that are out there. And they have no will, no conscious will of their own to pull away from that. They are driven by those evil forces, the collective evil forces that keep incarnating, whether it be Hitler or Mussolini. These people are real, and they do come back.
Now, do you feel, though, that they arise over and over again as a means of helping people
No.
actually ascend and come to another evolutionary level of human potential?
Not in the least. Not in the least. I have spent tens of hundreds of thousands of years battling demons on this earth, beating the shit out of them, personally, yeah? Taking their lives and turning them into serving God. Yeah, read the books of Krishna, where I was Krishna. Read those books, and every demon that I destroyed became a disciple. Transformed in body, mind, and spirit, came out of a demon that they were, and was transfigured by the blessing of being destroyed. The demon quality of that demon was destroyed by Godhead. That's the only thing that does this. Yeah, this is about Satan and God.
I was looking at it from the point of view, Buddha, of, let's say, the larger sense of duality, of yin and yang. One requires the other, and if one is faced, not by contrast,
Yeah.
polarity, obviously.
Well, there's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Yin and yang. You have a circle, you split it like that, so you have an even flow. It is a movement of flow, right? Yeah? That's a symbol. That's what it is. It's a symbol. But it's a symbol that comes from a central circle and a dot in the center of that circle. And that's the monad. That's what that is. But life is moved by the monad. And all of a sudden you see two halves of that circle. One are people who are out of it, others who are in it. That creates evolution. So literally, God, the monad, impresses into matter, into human beings, into all life, and does the yin and yang, bringing man and woman together under Godhead. That's a purpose. That's a teaching of that. Yeah, that's the real teaching. Yeah, you can read all other kinds of stuff that gives you all kinds of definition, but that's the teaching of separation. Yeah, those two separate things, and that gives reason as to why shit happens. Well, where I come from, shit don't happen. You got to battle it. You got to fight it. You got to transform it, transfigure it, and then end it. Yeah, once it's transfigured, what you get out of it is your glamours turn to virtues. You don't lose anything. But I'm telling you, we do not need the glamours. They are not the manifestation for the virtues. They are not. The virtues are what exists at all times. It's the Dark Lodge that comes in and restricts the quality of the light and separates it into different forces and then changes the direction of those things to manifest as glamours. There's a whole teaching to that, you know.
Of course there is. No, I get it. It's multidimensional and multi-layered. No question about it.
Yeah, it's called the Seven Rays.
People ask the question, for instance, after the Holocaust. They say, if there were a God, how could God ever allow this atrocity to occur?
Free will.
Too extreme.
Free will.
Today,
free will.
Sorry?
Free will.
Yeah.
All things are based on free will. That's the axis of truth. Yeah. It's like a little tiny point of light, the monad. Yeah. And that's a point of light. But what if that becomes devoured by lower astral forces and you no longer have that light? You only have a half of that light, half of those truths, half reference. Yeah. It's still, you're getting truth, but you're only getting half reference. You have consciousness, have emotional relationship to it. You certainly couldn't find divine if you're only getting half the light. And that's what happens. Inside of reality, humanity has the ability to be the builders of light, the co-creators. Yeah. But at the same time, they could be seduced. Yeah. And subject things to their virtues from virtue to vice. And it's those vices, like a generator, like a motor, that absorbs the light, and everybody starts disfiguring. From life conscious, life being, life aware, all things that has to do with life leaves. And that's where we're at. The whole earth is there. Yeah? The whole earth.
When you say that, where are the three and the four-legged beings? Where in the entire hierarchy do the animals and the plants, what role are they playing in this?
Well, we're all one in that. Yeah, the animal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, these are kingdoms. They're all kingdoms. And for each one of them, they are elementally, they are facets of light that come from the consciousness of God, yeah, as a blessing called creation. Yeah, and it takes a long time for this creation to take place. Yeah, I'm talking a big bang, you know, creation of planets, creating a solar system, collective consciousness, which brings angels that are also a problem to God. Fallen angels are a problem. It did exist. That's not new. Yeah, I'm sure you heard of this one. Yeah, it's the angelic aspect in the beginning of creation that we're dealing with. It was during creation, there was a fall that took place. It's no myth. It's not an illusion. It's a matter-of-fact reality. Yeah, and that's what I deal with. I deal with creation from the beginning to the end, Alpha, Omega. I deal with the whole thing. Yeah, and I hold one light that keeps everything into a state of balance. And it's not yin and yang in separate form. It's in one form, down to the monad, down to a singular dot, down to light. Yeah, that's the science that I work with.
So, is the domain of quantum physics in line, in your understanding, with the science you're referring to at base of source and God?
Absolutely. Yeah. The epoch relationship of time and space can all be understood in quantum understanding and mathematics, even the relationship of God's teaching through the Bible. Yeah, you can literally take that, and you may think, oh, you know, the earth started, and then there's Adam and Eve, and oh, nothing started until Adam and Eve, and that's not true. There was an enormous length of time of creation that led up to the period of Adam and Eve, and there was already life on earth. There were animals and other things. Yeah, so it wasn't, that was an externalization of a heavenly being on earth, which began the process where yin and yang comes together as a focus, monadically, and it impresses the monad, which is Adam, and it manifests into the life form, which is paradise, yeah? And that existed on earth for Adam, not for everybody else, just Adam, yeah? Because it's coming down and touching earth, and it's making earth and all the things of creation its final point, So everything has the enlightenment.
You are talking about the Bible. Are you referring to the Old Testament?
Yeah, you got to put them both together. Yeah, the Old Testament. Yes, I'm definitely referring to the Old Testament. Yeah, and its relationship, but the relationship of revelation that's based on the New Testament. Yeah, and the coming of Christ and the saving of humanity and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, that's based on what I'm talking about. That this whole thing is about Alpha and Omega. It's a cleansing process between Alpha and Omega. We can't jump the gun thinking that we've already been healed and that, what's going on. We're not. We're in the evolutionary stage. And it was at the time of Adam. When Adam was manifested, it was the time at the center point where you could see yin and yang. You could see there's evil over here and there's good over here, and that center point was Adam. And he would bring what would be good possibility and what is bad and bring them together through life and time. So from the time of Adam, time was manifested as God here on earth. So all the kingdoms were under God's time. And everything began evolving under that time. So every species, everything, all began synthesizing as an understanding. Consciousness goes into plants and animals and vegetables, not just human beings. So when you eat food, you're eating consciousness.
Mm-hmm. It's just another version, if you will.
Yes, but it has to be blessed. It has to be purified. Yeah, this earth has many sins on it, many sins, and that goes into what you're eating. And if you don't take responsibility for these kind of things, cleansing yourself and keeping balance and keeping yourself in a nice state, then you could take in a lot of this astral crap that can confuse you and keep you from ever taking anything higher than a very subtle initiation of awakening. Where most people can't get beyond that subtle initiation. They're very stumped. Yeah, and there's so much more. We could be healing people. That's where I come from. And if I can get the satanic aspect out, get people to where they can move into the light, not the half light that you just mentioned, but the real whole light that only comes from one source, Jesus Christ. I'm not trying to say, go to church. That's the last thing I would say. But I would say you got to listen to what I'm saying. Jesus Christ had purpose, and Jesus Christ is still alive. I'm sitting right here. I look the same. I act the same. I'm no different. I'm 69 years old.
Yes. So, if then true, this opportunity is beyond, the ordinary, and I so appreciate it, Buddha and Jesus. So the story
Good one.
of Jesus going from Israel, Palestine, at the time to India, through the Middle East, and studying with the yogis, and then studying with the Tibetans, etc. Could you talk about that a little bit? It does make perfect sense to me. And now, knowing you better, it makes even more sense.
Yeah, it's that's a big thing with me because it's the truth, and there's so much out there that is diluted and full of illusion because of fanaticism. People get stuck like a rock, But the truth is that when I incarnated, the wise men who came to my parents were asking to take me. Not coming to give a blessing and say, you go on your way, I'm sure you'll be safe, they're out killing all the boys. That didn't happen. That story is not true. What did happen was that my friends came from my previous life in the Himalayas, yeah, and I was known as Babaji. Babaji. You probably heard of Babaji, yeah? Okay, well, I took an emanation, an incarnated emanation. Yeah, well, I took an incarnation emanation in my first manifestation as Babaji as Buddha Gautama Siddhartha, yeah? 500 years before Jesus. And then, as Babaji, I continue living. Now, I'm not dead. I'm already, 500 years old by the time of Jesus, and I'm looking exactly the same. Yeah, and all my disciples would come back around, and I try and help wake them up so that we can begin something, because they'd all go to sleep once they died. Yeah, if you read about Babaji, that's always my problem. All my disciples go to sleep once they die, and once I find them, they're back doing their business or working with a family or some kind of responsibility that has nothing to do with their real truth in life, why they're here, a disciple of God. Yeah. Yeah.
They get lost in the earthly realm.
Yeah. Well, I spend a lot of time with these disciples. And like Lahiri. Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Lahiri. And Lahiri and I, we worked out his problem of the fact that he was stuck, he was lost, he forgot everything, he had no way of remembering, and he lost all of his gifts. Yeah? And it took me 4 years to get him to recapitulate. And once he recapitulated, he levitated in front of his wife because he focused on what I was doing, which was levitating.
Tim Leary.
No, Lahiri. Lahiri, the disciple of Babaji, yeah? Not Timothy Leary, no. No. Yeah, Lahiri, yeah. This is a ways back. Yeah, but it's during the life cycle of the same incarnation of the avatar. Yeah, exactly. But if you study this, you'll find in Little Buddha, you'll find that they see that Little Buddha, who they think is a singular guy reincarnated as the teacher, kind of find out there are 3 of them now, a girl and 2 boys. Now, how could this be? How could one person manifest into 3 people? And they explain, well, because he is the Buddha, and he manifests in aspects. This is the highest form of Buddha that would ever manifest on earth, would be in aspects. Yeah, it's not as a teaching, but it's a real reality. The human mind and the limitations of God's reality, which is in emanations, manifestations, not just the limitation of a singular form, but the fact that we are all the same being. Yeah, we're all the same being. Yeah. So it's the avatar who knows his emanations are all of humanity. But he has singular emanations that are directly out of the body that he's incarnated in. So Sakyamuni comes with 6 different manifestations, Manjushri and all these other manifestations around him as his disciples. Yeah? And that comes again during the time of Jesus. When Jesus incarnates 500 years later, he incarnates in a very similar way that Siddhartha did. Siddhartha was immaculately conceived. Yeah, he didn't have a father, he didn't have a mother, he was just conceived in the womb, and then he comes out. Yeah, well, the same thing happened to Jesus. Yeah, it's the exact same experience. So when Jesus comes into his reality of being incarnated, the same thing happened to Buddha. The wise man shows up. And he tells the father, wow, you either got yourself a prince here who's going to become a king like you, or you got someone who comes from heaven and he's not a part of your family. He's actually an offering from heaven. And he's an incarnation to become the king of the world as the enlightened one. Yeah? So this is what this guy says. And he doesn't say, well, look, you can keep him, hold on to him, you teach him, do what you need. No, he came to get the Buddha. But the father said, no, I won't do that because this is my only son. I need an heir, and I need to continue my name. Yeah? So that literally was pressured upon our avatar. Now that's where yin and yang becomes separation. Yeah, there is a plan, God's plan, one plan, monad. That one plan is constant. But then there's the forces of humanity, and they take the avatar and separate him into something he's not. Yeah, every incarnation this happens. It happened to me in this incarnation. It happened to all my other previous incarnations, every single one. Yeah, Tsongkhapa, same thing happened to him. Milarepa, same thing happened to him. Padmasambhava, the same thing happened to him. Yeah, so all of these.
Through history. Do you feel that through all of these incarnations, Buddha, that there is progress being made? Is it just same story being told?
Yeah.
I always have this idea that the number of people who wake up in a given generation or era or epoch varies by about 2 or 3%, and it hovers somewhere between 5 and 10% of all humanity. The other 90 plus percent continues on essentially as what we call sheeple.
Yeah.
It's not a judgment, it's just life on earth as a plodding, very terrestrially based.
Yeah, that's a way to look at it. Yeah, that's without Christ. Yeah, that's without Christ. We do not have any history in time where Christ or the incarnation of God is walking on earth for any longer than 60 to 80 years. Whether it be Rama, Krishna, Jesus, Buddha, any of them, they have limited cycles of time. Yeah, and then once they die, all the dark lords around them say, well, that really wasn't anybody special in the first place. Yeah, and we don't expect him to come back. And if he does, in order to verify his existence, he has to come back looking identical as he did before, which never happens. It never happens. In all the lives of Krishna, all the lives of the avatar, whether it be as a fish or as a turtle or as a human being or as a boar, yeah, that's true. All the lives of the avatar go prior, all the way through the existence of every kingdom. The avatar takes incarnation as one of those kingdoms. Yeah, so that's how we evolve. And the influence of the coming of the avatar means that the avatar is able to radiate light into the whole of everything and encloses it, redeems it, yeah, holds it in that light. Yeah. Now, so if I'm here and I stay here, yeah, imagine I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. You may think, whoa, he's just another person, he's going to die. That's not happening. Yeah. I'll die, but I'll be right back. I will look exactly as I do today, and I will do all the crazy things that I do today that no one else could do. No one else can explain anything that I can explain in all my sciences other than me. So from here on out, I am the incarnation of the avatar, and it's Jesus. And that same person constantly from here on out will incarnate. And every living human being will be saved. Now, and we don't need darkness. We don't need people flopping around in darkness. We don't need evil in order to keep this thing going. That's all just made up by lower mind to try and understand why this shit goes on. Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, and all this, when this is a holy planet, this is not a sacred planet, yeah? But once this is a sacred planet, and every living human being lives in virtue, caring, kindness, and is illuminated in the light of the soul, that soul is a healing factor. The soul is so healing, it eliminates the causal reality of most of the diseases on earth. Suffering, accidents, people being violent, all those things go away. That's a healing. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the grace of God on earth. And trust me, this is happening, and I'm not going anywhere. You can kill me tonight, and I'll be right back. No, it's true.
Yeah, I'm embracing. I could reach out and touch you if we were not, separated by a virus.
I have tens of thousands of masters who reincarnate. They know me, yeah? In Tibet, in India, all over. They know me, yeah? Where before there was no TV, there was no way of getting to know me, there was no way for us to collectively come in contact with me and sense me, feel me, get blessed by me, yeah? Well, in this life, I traveled all throughout Tibet, blessed all the major monasteries. I traveled all throughout India, Sri Lanka, up to Nepal, all over the place, and blessed every single square inch. Yeah? So all of that is being recapitulated, and 9/10 of humanity's spiritual evolution comes from those locations. So I'm healing the past. I'm bringing everybody's light from the past, having worked with God, having worked with Buddha, having done the good things that it took for them to shift from being on the dark side to the light. Yeah? And throughout time, over the last 3,000 years, many people who were in the light fell into darkness. Yeah? They were suffering in prisons because of the dark, evil forces of the lunar lords. Hitler, imagine, there were five major lunar lords on Earth during the time of Hitler. Mussolini, there was China, Japan, all these different locations, all at the same time thinking they're going to rule the Earth and willing to nuclear this thing. Yeah? Every single one of them were willing to go nuke. Yeah? I stopped that. I incarnated in 1951. I took the entire space program and turned it into NASA, personally. That was a good thing.
Yeah. I love the way you put that. So from that point of view then, Buddha, Donald Trump should be a walk in the park.
Oh, he's no problem. I use reality, life in itself. Life in itself.
One part of a whole consciousness, as you're implying, and we know. There is the entire group, his whole cult following, that is a true, serious lunar lord problem, to use your phrase.
Not really. Not really. Not if you look at it, because most of the people who follow him are on the measures of low IQ, really low IQ. Yeah, and that measure of low IQ in reality could be in large numbers, but we've given 4 years of education to these people of low IQ. And now those people's IQ has gone up. That's the education. You, through the Christ light, through the principles of Christ principle, inside of every living human being, we all struggle with the devil, whether it's in ourselves, our mother, our father, our uncle, whoever it is, we have to struggle with it. But it's through the Christ principle that we deal with it. The Christ principle opens our heart to see the truth, so we get the strength to not agree with it and not make it the process of having power over us. We gain power over it by the soul. All people are gaining soul, more soul than they had last 5 years ago. Yeah? Tomorrow there's going to be more soul. The next day there'll be more soul. I am illuminating this.
Is that process occurring because of the difficulty of the struggle and overcoming the vices and the power of the lunar lords? So as they say, if it doesn't kill you, it builds character?
Well, we have to look at two sides. Yeah, there are lunar lords, and then there's the new group of world servers. Now, the new group of world servers are people like Tesla, people like Einstein, people with enormous high mind, monadic mind, consciousness that is beyond anything we can imagine. And they're moved in a collective consciousness state greater than most people. So they're called the hierarchy. Yeah? And in that hierarchy, and these are incarnated human beings that have regular jobs. The hierarchy has many levels to it. I'm at the top of it. But I love every single one as it goes from bottom to top. Yeah? And it's that reality of the new group of world servers. Since 1950, I've been developing the new group of world servers. Yeah? Our presidents, several of them, have been members of the new group of world servers since 1950. Yeah? Yeah? And their family were members of the new group of world servers. Yeah? Overshadowed. Some of their family members would be on a darker side. Yeah? But because the light of a child comes in, it illuminates that to change the whole group. So many, 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 many rich families had new group of world servers children. And they didn't want to be rich. They didn't want to do this kind of crap. So they started giving away their money. Philanthropy started happening. Yeah. And that changes through the heart of goodwill in action. That changes humanity. All of humanity gets the blessings from this thing that is literally ripping you away, money. Yeah? The greed and the avarice. But the new group of world servers gets highly blessed. Yeah? Like Bill Gates. Yeah? Like Apple. Like Tesla. All these places are members of the new group of world servers that are personally blessed by me. I walked Tesla from the moment he got the idea to the making of the first cars, and I bought those cars. And at the same time, I was running an electric car company in order to foster him to do this. I brought him, I brought him and the relationship of his car technology to the point where it's at. Even moving him to work with space, these are very specific areas that I was working in, that the new group of servers, which would be masses of humanity, hundreds of thousands of people in the beginning, moving into millions of people having jobs that serve the world and not lunar lords. That's how this comes about. Opportunity.
I am heartened that I see the movement. There's a wonderful book that I refer to frequently, written by a major environmental activist named Paul Hawken, called Blessed. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's so funny. I refer to it regularly. But it's about the literally millions of people around the world who are working in all levels of society and capacity, as you're describing, who are working for the good. Some of them are in NGOs, some of them are in nonprofit organizations, some of them are in B corporations, some of them are in C corporations, some of them are in government. It doesn't matter what the vehicle is. It's people with heart and love and a sense of purpose and commitment to humanity and health and well-being and ultimately to God.
Yes.
To bring light onto the planet. And they're doing it by creating healthy food in the depths of Africa.
New technologies.
People bringing water to these places. Technologies, it's every single rung of society, and it's very blessed unrest. Sorry about my forgetting. And it's all about that millions of people. It's just to underscore the point you're making.
Yeah, and that's, the group is large. They're all being overshadowed. Yeah, I started with Bill Gates. I was a part of the group that built the computer, that developed the relationship of using computers, going from the transistor and going into the new technologies. I did that in the early 60s and 70s. And by that time, I was able to bring it to the point to where Bill and the rest of them could come across these tools and begin making software and start making a computer and begin developing. So I literally was the guy building the foundation for that to happen. I was the guy who built the foundation for the space program to think about going into space rather than making nuclear. Yeah? It was me who overshadowed that. I gave the idea of NASA and the ability for us to create a space station. So I moved through the movie industry, which is the evilest industry on Earth. Yeah? The entertainment industry is more demons, more Satanists, more people who are so vile and so crude and so bad. They ruin the landscape of our earth, and they put out movies and videos and music that would just destroy your soul. Destroy your soul. And then there were groups in the 60s that came in entertainment I overshadowed. Elvis Presley, yeah, Buddy Holly, yeah. All these people that moved through the 60s, I was there for the relationship of 69. I graduated in 69. I was in the center of the hippie movement. I brought all these people together through me to change this world. And then we moved through a next evolution, which is where we're at today. Now we have solar in houses, we have electric cars. This came from my new group of world servers called hippies. Bill Gates. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's an overshadowing of higher mind. Yeah, yeah. It's free will. And the key behind the Christ principle is to free us up from Satan's grip. Yeah? We're not wise enough to know Satan exists. We're not wise enough to know the workings of this kind of thing. But I am. Yeah? And I overshadow people with the power and the ability to cut through it without having to go through some religious dogma of taking sides, you know, oh, I believe in this or I believe in that. I overshadow. Yeah, I overshadow. So people receive light that they literally do not have the merit to receive. But I give people the merit because I was there in the past. So everybody in their life, as they're breathing every moment, I'm the Lord who stands above them. For every living human being, there's no other Lord but me.
So interesting. What role would you describe is the role of intelligent life in the universe? The question of intelligent life here is an interesting question. As Lily Tomlin raised in her famous Broadway show. And before you talk about the IQ of the Trump cult, but the EQ. It sounds like a contradiction in terms, but the emotional intelligence, I find that's what also profoundly lacking.
Well,
I'm interested because there are now becoming disclosures, Buddha, as I'm sure you know.
I'm the one doing it.
I'm sorry?
I'm the one doing it. I'm the one researching everything. I have the time.
Can you describe what is the relationship of a lot of the extraterrestrial
our
life on Earth right now, and are they here to be world servers as well? What is your view?
Well, I have a very matter-of-fact view because I'm deeply involved in that in my early 20s. My early 20s, I came directly in contact with what you call extraterrestrials and people who are contactees, people who are abducted, and their difficulty in life. And I went through the process in order to protect them. I began in the early 70s, knowing their reality out there, you know, from, the movie of Close Encounter of the Third Kind and all that, have all this happy impression that this is what goes on. But it's not. It's a very vile, evil force that goes on to seduce the light of the soul, as it's growing, yeah? Because the light of the soul comes from the monad, And the monad, there is a cosmic, yeah, and there's a planetary, and there's solar, yeah, and those are monadic qualities, yeah, and they're also qualities of God, and they're qualities of Christ. There's a planetary Christ or a planetary logos. There's a solar logos or the Christ solar logos, yeah, and there's a cosmic logos or the Christ cosmic logos. Yeah. So if we think as, oh, this is Christ, he's a little baby, you know, oh, look, he's sitting right there. He's got 2 eyes, 2 ears, you know, and, you know, so this is who he is. This is it right there. Right. But the truth is every living thing created by God is the body of the avatar. It's his body. As long as I have a body, we have heaven. Yeah, it's called metatronics. Yeah, the creating of the electron, the very electron, just the electron alone. We wouldn't have gravity, we wouldn't have matter, nothing would be collected together. We'd have no light, no fusion, no fission, no nothing. Yeah, if it wasn't for the electron. Where did it come from? It comes from the mind of God, creating the first essence of manifestation of matter, which was Metatron. God was just light. God was omnipresent. God was everything. God needed to be formed.
Metatron that stepped the light into
Beginning of form. It's the beginning of form, the Alpha and the Omega. Now, who's talking to you right now is Metatron, but I'm in Alpha Omega state. I'm very old. Ancients of days. You can't imagine how old I am. Yeah? You go back to the beginning, you come to where I'm sitting today. That's why there's so much light. That's where the light comes from, because it's a part of creation. And everything, all the way, everything I say and all things are all under this light. Time is under this light. The very movement of atoms is under this light. The electron is based under this light. And that creates geometric forms. These geometric forms, the atom, creates geometric reality. Therefore, I created water. I created minerals. I created trees. I got a little doggy to bark. All those things, it took gazillions of years. And we had to pass through dinosaurs, which I love so much. You can't imagine what dinosaurs were like. Isn't it like big animal dogs and big animal pets? They're just, to me, if you can imagine, the avatar is like 100 times bigger than the planet. You know, so the planet's a little thing. Yeah? And its creation is what it is. And God looks over that and watches over that, and everything's in God's hands. And that includes the dinosaurs. And honestly, I'll tell you, God loved those dinosaurs. It's in the Bible. I really did. I even have. But every evolution. But those dinosaurs are now birds. They didn't go anywhere, right? Everything is still the same. Everything's still here, but it evolved into different packages. The horse that we have today looked like a dog, almost like a chihuahua. Yeah? But now it's grown to the size that it is as a horse, under the mind of God, as a blessing to humanity. And humanity becomes the caretakers to these creations. It's all in the Bible.
So interesting. I circle back with clarification to this point about what we call the extraterrestrial and their influence on Earth or their in us. And I mean, there are so many stories, as you well know, which is that there have been wars in the heavens for eons, and now there is a harmony that has come forth, that there is light that is formed from the galaxies, and the Earth is sort of like the last holdout of pain and struggle. Now, I'm not saying
good movie.
But it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is.
They are punished for wanting to help us, but because of the nature and reality of free will, there's only so much they can do without our direct conscious participation.
Well, because Christ is the one in charge, there are laws in the process of creation. And anything outside of a solar system that goes into a solar system and is outside that solar system cannot break the law of intrusion, which means adding any form of understanding that they exist. And any technology, lifestyle, anything to do with their existence, which is outside the solar system, cannot be applied to any planet until it is evolved enough in its consciousness to see all that telepathically. And if once they receive this telepathically, then those who are right according and chosen by Jesus Christ, they will come here and they will foster my program. The ETs are for Jesus. Yeah? There are bad ones, there are good ones. And there are really bad ones. There's really bad ones, yeah? The Pleiadian reality, Samyase, the reticulan reality, all these things that you hear about in New Age are based on actual truth. Yeah? But when it comes down to the hierarchy and its relationship to extraterrestrial reality, the fact is that humanity itself is extraterrestrial. We're extraterrestrial, yeah? This planet is manifested from a whole bunch of asteroids. The minerals that sit on this planet come from other planets that no longer exist, yeah? So there was life on those planets. The elements of life were on those planets, yeah? Chosen by God to come in contact with this solar system and create our moon and our sun and all that we have here, yeah? A big bang kind of thing, yeah? And seemingly in chaos. But under the mind of God, it was thought form building, creating a sacred reality, yeah? So in our solar system, we have our sun, we have the moon, and we have planet Earth. And if you take the geometric configuration, the mathematical distance around the Earth, the distance between the center of the Earth to the center of the moon, the distance between center of the Earth, center of the moon, the radius around the Earth, there's a mathematical equation to that that equals pi. Now that's a 51-degree pyramid, yeah? So we're literally structurally placed inside of a pyramid. We have a temple here, and the moon and the earth is a pyramid. So and that's why we have a great pyramid here, and we have pyramids all over the landscapes that are over 30,000 years old. And all the people that we have any history of, Mayans, Aztecs, Egyptians, all those people, most of them didn't build those things. Yeah? The Mayans walked into the jungle and found those things. The Aztecs walked in and found those things. They were built long before they got there. But the way the stones were placed and the technology to build these things all happened by a collective group. A collective group. Yeah? So these are the hierarchy. These are the relationships of the hierarchy. And we don't just get things from asteroids, but we get things from collective consciousness, from collective planets. And that hierarchy, as the body of Christ, not just our solar system, but the whole of the cosmos, is under the body of Christ. So for gazillions of light years, the evolution has been spurred on by Christ's principle. So all of humanity comes from the realm of the extraterrestrial. Yeah? We have the stones from all these planets. We have all these things that have collected here and created this incredibly auspicious earth. How is that possible? Yeah? You can't find life on another planet. As far as you look, you can't. Yeah? But this is set up by God in a specific zone. This particular planet is heaven, designed by God to foster life, the tree of life. So all throughout the cosmos, the best of life is brought here as a soul, and it begins its fashion of incarnation. That's called the human being. And that's a cosmic event. Yeah? Yeah. That's why we're so psychic. That's why we have so many gifts. That's why we can heal people. We regenerate limbs. We can bring back the dead. We have the ability, not because of some mythological process. It's because we're highly ancient, gifted beings from all over the cosmos. So we ain't got anything to worry about. Yeah, there are some bad extraterrestrials, but Jesus lives here, and he's in charge of the Federation. It'll be known as the Federation in about 500 years. We'll be connected in that relationship. I'm fostering all of our planetary connections and all of our, which will then give us, but we have to raise our consciousness to be outside of war, the outside of all the vices that we're living in. I have to get rid of most of those before I can bring in what's to come, our future in the Federation.
Well, how's that going?
Well, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars right away, but you can't. You can't go to Mars. You can't take human beings to Mars. He's going to find, oh shit, I did that. Oh shit, they all died and they suffered. And how are we going to change that? And we'll do a rotation, spinning, 2001 Space Odyssey kind of spaceship. Maybe we can get away with it doing that. It's not that way. It's not that way. We don't. Yeah, if we go through space, we'll be more like Star Trek. Yeah. And that won't happen for over 1,000 years. We have an enormous, we have to get to anti-gravity. We can't use fossil fuel. We can't use spaceship engines. Anti-gravity technology is very easy. Yeah? It's involved with light. And you have to use the principles of God. But you don't know the principles of God. There's a science called the 7 rays. You have to understand those 7 rays to work in the field of physics. And I'm the teacher of that. Yeah? And when it's time, I'll have physicists that will sit down with me and I'll walk them through how to make an anti-gravity field. And we won't have to worry about electricity ever again. What's that?
Nikola Tesla was said to have had...
It's not a problem. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's just that everything has to do with the 100th monkey. It's just like the 4-minute mile. There's a certain level of consciousness in the human, yeah? And there's a law by God that doesn't allow individuals to become more enlightened than the mass. Maybe a little more, but not much, yeah? So by collective consciousness, if we raise our consciousness, then we get new gifts, higher understanding. And we go from technology to telecommunication, from telecommunication to telepathic communication. It's the next stage. Yeah? So all the things that we're doing, our hard work and everything, and our fear, and we're going to never have a job, and viruses, all of that. I heal all that, and I also teach us how to get into the next level, the kingdom of God. And there are technologies that come with it. Cars that drive themselves, yeah, cars that fly. Computers that work with the mind of man. It's all based on light. There's a telepathic connection between a computer and a human being. Once we get to a certain point, you'll find we can begin developing computers to communicate with the mind. Not like Elon Musk. He's bright, but he's not that bright. He's going wrong in a lot of ways. Yeah? Yeah? So, but he's got an idea. He wants to put something in the brain. He wants to foster technology to enter the brain to create bigger abilities and wider spanses of understanding, but that won't work. It's not what we need to do. Yeah, we need to work with light.
Technology already built into the system, though.
Yeah,
we don't really have to take an extra.
No, we have chakras.
Or what have you.
We have chakras. Problem is that we have chakras that are connected in the wrong direction, and the chakra that should be here is in the sacral center in people. And only Christ can move it back to the brow. Yeah, this ain't God in the machine. Yeah, this is the blessing of balance, the ascension of humanity. The difference between enlightenment and non-enlightenment is the chakras. The chakras control the meridian system. The meridian system grows the organs and creates the genetic material to manifest the human body. The meridian system, that's a light-bearing system on the etheric field. Unless we're in that realm of understanding, which I'm in, and once everybody or anybody kind of gets up to that place, we then start moving. Because I can grow back limbs. Grow back limbs.
I've known of this happening.
Yeah, but it's not about me going around touching everybody. Yeah, there's a law. There are laws. We can't break those laws. And if we stop breaking those laws, you will be given the light that comes with the law that is done in virtue. That law gives you wisdom. Yeah, every single thing has an elemental aspect to it. Every single thing. And that's what you wake up in your mind, is those elements. If you hold anything on a denser level, which is called the half-life, yeah, half of the life, which is half light, half life, yeah, that's Lucifer. Lucifer is a almost truth, yeah, almost truth, because Lucifer's not the Lord. He can't give you the truth, and he's not the bearer of the light, but he's the bearer of the half-light. So he's called the bearer of the light in a place where there's no light. Do you understand? Yeah. So here, Lucifer could easily become your Lord. Where there's no light, and you get a fallen angel, who's the senior fallen angel out of heaven, who brings 1/3 of all the angels of heaven to earth. Those are the lunar lords I'm talking about.
And so it can also be said there is an appearance of their carrying the light, but the issue is it's just an appearance, where the idea of illusion comes.
No, what they carry, yeah, the fact is that their light is a lie. Yeah? They leave out the truth. Yeah? They leave out God. They leave out Jesus. They leave out all the reality. And everybody is in that boat. Every single person's in that boat. So there's no way you could be saved without the light. And it's the truth that sets you free. Yeah? So there isn't anybody on earth that's not living in the half-life. So everybody, you're lucky if you get 80 years out of your life. Where I come from, my life as Adam, I lived over 900 years. And all my family members lived 800, 900 years. And that's written in the Bible. We're not crazy people. Now, we wouldn't lie, you know. There's no reason to lie about that. That's stupid. 800, 900 years when everybody else is living, 40, 50, 60 years. Every single person on earth at the time was living that long except for us. Yeah, because we were the avatar. The body of the avatar incarnates and manifests as emanations. And those become tukus. They become the hierarchy. They're disciples.
So interesting. So interesting.
There isn't a human being on earth that can't enter heaven.
Babaji is known, of course, as having, materialized. There's one version of Haidekhan Baba, as he's called, who is said to have come into the body at age 13.
Absolutely, he did.
Body.
No, he did. Yeah. No, that happened. That was an overshadowing by me. Yeah. I had left my body as Babaji in 1950. Yeah. I told that to the leaders of the Yuktasvara and Yogananda. Just as I was leaving my body as Babaji, I went to and told both of them that I was going out of my body. Yeah, and that's when I told Yogananda that I'm the Yogi Christ. And that's when Yuktasvara wrote the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, with Yogananda. So they put that together in order to better describe what I said the last time I talked to him, which is that I'm the Yogi Christ. Because all the time they would ask me, what are your incarnations? Won't you even give us one? So I told them I was Krishna. And that was all that I would give them. Yeah. So there are so many lives. That one life, I lived 2,500 years. And I left that life in 1950. So this is the incarnation. This is the incarnation coming out of that life. Yeah. So that's why I look the way I do. That's how I am the way I am. Yeah, because I'm just Babaji and I'm like a kid.
Well, I was going to say that along with Babaji, if you move slightly east to the Taoist tradition, where there is this idea of the immortalists, which are beings that recognize their mortality and immortality in the same sentence, you know. And I think that there's a parallel then with Babaji and the life you're speaking of.
Well, immortality is in all of us. The fact that we reincarnate, we're in the tree of life. Yeah? We're not in the tree of knowledge, which means that we're stupid every time we reincarnate. We have to retain knowledge, and we have to make a reason for being here. That's the whole tree of knowledge. Yeah? Yeah, every time. Yeah? You come in ignorant, and you can only build on knowledge. That's it. But that's a lie. It doesn't even exist. It's not even an element in the factor of existence. Yeah? All there really is a soul. The soul is the causal body. The soul exists, and every good thing we do, every loving thing that we inspire to do and change from bad to good is collected in our soul, in our causal body. And when we die, that causal body comes with us. So we have to recapitulate everything we've done that's good. Not that we're going to come back as exactly the same level, but we have inside of us all those things that are good. We just have to bring them back. But we come into a life to where we have Hitler and we're forced to be a German and all these things. It's really hard to recapitulate. So for the last 2,000 years, I've moved this into Buddhism, because as Babaji, I incarnated Buddha, in order to create a causal body. Buddha was the causal body, So then we called it Buddhism. And that way, anybody who takes under the causal body as bodhisattva, they're focusing on their moment of evolution in their life, that they're growing like a tree, like a seed, going into life, becoming the person you're going to become. But you only become the end of that, is according to how much you fed it, how much goodness you put into it, how much flew out of that and feeding others. Because everything in life is to give nutrients to other things. So all of Babaji's work, all the influence is to assimilate the reality of higher mind and clear the lower mind. So everybody's consciousness, no matter...
That is going back to the idea of the world server, of which you are the...
That's me.
You are, you're sort of ineffable in light of this. But we, human beings who have our own incarnational cycles and reincarnational cycles, are always looking to re-invoke the good and the virtue that we have had from prior lives into the conditions of the current life. Re-establish them, regrow them, add to them, and spread the love, spread the compassion, spread the light.
And as people...
Purpose of our lives.
And as people awaken, they become more awake, and that recapitulation takes place. What they find, at first, they think, I'm being a better person, and I'm gaining merit. That's cleansing, and I'm gaining, and I'm learning. From whatever I'm going through. Now I'm learning from this. But the reality is that all the way from the very beginning, every single bit that brought a person out of darkness and into the light, every single inch, every single bit, there was always the person, Jesus, at every time. So you may not remember this during the Roman period. But there was still Jesus, and turned the mind of many Romans. So then I reincarnate again, and I reincarnate immediately afterwards. So no one's got any place to hide. I'm on everyone's tail. The book never closes.
Yes.
My book is constant. It's flowing at all times, and I'm in constant awareness of my reincarnation, that I'm constantly in this reincarnation. So I'm holding a thread of the tree of life, and that passes through every single person, whether they're awake or not. And it wakes up the guy who stabs me as Jesus. Even though he did that, he woke up from it. So,
the question always arises, why then, if you as Avatar are here and you are in constant consciousness of your avatarism, the highest possible manifestation, why still is there so much hurt and pain and suffering and destruction taking place day by day, where our ecosystem is losing so many beautiful creatures hour to hour? And we're at this point, this precipice that we describe as the sixth epoch, or the sixth extinction.
Well, if you look in the Bible, you'll see my first incarnation was Adam. And when I was manifested, which I was manifested, I didn't have a mother or a father, and I was manifested out of the earth. Yeah? The earth manifested me. Yeah? So, yeah. So I'm an avatar of earth. Yeah? So I'm not, even though I walk around and look the way I do, I'm actually the only existing earth walking around. I'm it. Yeah? And I hold all the potentiality of this earth. And at the same time, 1/3 of all the fallen angels was on this earth. And the very first thing that happened was Lucifer came to me. And he told me with no question, he by no means would allow this earth to recognize me, see me, or consider God as in existence, even though I'm sitting right there. So God created paradise and surrounded a sacred area. And I wasn't to leave that area. Yeah? And the closest thing to that area was the tree of knowledge, which is where Lucifer and everything else was at. Humanity existed all over the place. Yeah? There were animals and there were people, everything. But it was all under Lucifer. Everything was pagan and stupid and had no understanding of anything. Yeah? So all of that influence that happened then is still happening, and I'm battling that for humanity. I'm dealing with Lucifer and all those angels who have, over time, found a way to get into human beings like Trump or Mussolini or others who are just children of God who become possessed by a demon. Yeah? And then they externalize as a group of lunar lords who want to lord over you, with lunar qualities, holding you down and beating you and saying, you're evil and I'm saving you. So the Catholic Church comes out and a pope breaks legs and throws people into ponds and, makes sense? Yeah? So that's humanity. It's been like that for a long time. Yeah? And one singular bodhisattva, which is why they call me bodhisattva, is that I come as a sacrificial being in order to witness, to heal, and with incredible patience, I will pull it off. But I have to save every living soul. I have to save Trump. I have to save Trump. I have to save the reincarnation of Hitler. I found the reincarnation of Hitler. I stopped the reincarnation of Hitler. He died in the worst possible way, and he's back. But I'm overshadowing his life, his family, and everything right this second. So he won't come out like he did last. It's a hard thing to get these demons, hundreds and hundreds of demons, out of people when they reincarnate. It's hard.
Of course.
Yeah. And everybody's crazy over him. Everybody thinks Michael Jackson is like the sweetest guy and he's off having sex with little boys. And because of the evil inside of people, you follow evil. And they come in disguise as good people, as saints or something. And look at all the people thought about Michael Jackson. Sweet guy, innocent guy, lost his childhood, all this kind of stuff. He was a liar. He stole souls. He ruined lives, ruined families. Yeah, he's a very perfect disciple of Lucifer. And he was also Hitler. How would you like to know all this stuff? Yeah, it's not something for people to fight against. Yeah, I will give the understanding when people are ready for it. I fought to get people to understand Michael Jackson was who he was, that he was Hitler, and that before he dies, he is going to come out as Hitler, and he did. He did the record History. He did a movie called History, a video called History, where he declared himself the reincarnation of Hitler in Germany, with millions of people marching along as Hitler devotees, with him in the center as the reincarnation of Hitler, and everybody loved him. You've never seen it?
No.
Wow. Okay. I'll tell you what. Tomorrow night I'll put it on teaching.
Okay.
It's real. Well, the reason he didn't see it is because the Jewish community sued him for claiming to be Hitler, and that he had no remorse. And this is all a legal record. You could look at it if you want. Nobody bothers because they're under the influence of Lucifer inside their own bones, inside their own head.
A question. If you are working with the lunar lords, of which Trump is one of many,
Yeah.
and his election is coming up, if you help to heal / illuminate, redeem him prior to the election, and he becomes a different person, which you described before, nature is as the lunar lord. And I have no thought that that is going to change.
No, this is education.
Hold out.
No.
Commission.
Nope.
Meaning,
Nope.
Being an active influence is really what I mean.
Yeah. He can be disempowered.
And take over. What are your thoughts?
Yes, disempowered. Yeah, disempowered. Yeah, what happens is that during my blessing, I activate the lunar lord to behave as he normally does, so that people could see it without him doing it behind the scene, cutting and editing and doing the things lunar lords do. They have to masquerade, yeah, because they're so naturally evil, yeah. So he has to do a lot to cover up. But I've got him in a position to where he can't, and he has to say what comes out, and he has to make these stupid statements and everything, and it's adding up. It's adding up a lot. Now he has the coronavirus, yeah, and everything he's done is wrong. Now it's a matter of the people giving proper information, and this is going to take 2 years for the coronavirus to actually settle down. 2 years. Nobody wants to hear things like that, but the truth is the truth. This is a terrible virus, yeah, and we really have to take it seriously. And we're going to. We're going to. And he's going to lose office, and we're going to take command of this thing, and it's all going to work out just great. But it's an education. It's an education. Kings and queens are there to educate us about the worst form of glamour. And then that slowly but surely reaches inside of them, and their children no longer want to become kings or queens. Same with rich people. They want to give away all their money instead of give it to their kids. Yeah. So that's the closing of the door of astral plane, closing of the door of evil, and it doesn't reincarnate. Doesn't reincarnate. Everything, every physical thing is God's creation. All children, all plants, animals, everything is held on this earth through the spirit and light of God. And it's not just a philosophy. This is a hard-working job, yeah? And that energy sustains it from us getting a nuclear attack, from getting terrible outcomes happening, because the Holy Spirit going into all things. So I'm doing that. So people are changing their diet. People are changing their lifestyle. So part of this is to help people move toward changing their lifestyle, not have such an expensive house. You know, after this, they're not going to be able to afford an expensive house. Yeah? So we can all jump maybe 100 years in advance to buying tiny homes and having solar on top and paying only $1,200 a month for mortgage for only 10 years rather than 120 years. Yeah? Total lifestyle, which would be Christ principle. Yeah? That would be my blessing, is to give people a life. Everybody needs to find their truth in Dharma. There is a path. None of us need to live in a mansion. Yeah? We don't need more than what we need. Yeah? And this is an opportunity for me to bless as many people as possible to gain virtue, patience, different qualities of virtue that allows them to go, nope, I'm not going to go out. Nope, I'm going to wear a mask. Nope, I'm doing this because I don't want to cause anybody any harm. Every day that goes on, we come out of this a different person.
Well, this has been an extraordinarily rich day. And I am sure my audience will so appreciate your words of love and wisdom.
Well, you're New York, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is a time for New York to take Jesus in as a real reality. Yeah? I am in process of, I'm not leaving this planet for a very long time. So I'm setting up monasteries. And I'm going to begin going out. And I'm going to begin talking with people, meeting people, and blessing people. And changing them dramatically by me coming directly in contact with them. Yeah, that's something I don't do. Yeah, because there's too much in peril. People are following people, doing the wrong things. It's a waste of energy to step in where I could be doing it through meditation and higher frequencies. And when its time is right, I will come out. New York is one of the main places I'm going to first. Yeah, so it would be great if New York opened up, you know, the opportunity to hire a hall and say Jesus Christ is here and he would like to bless everybody in New York and end this virus.
Well, I'm a Jew for Jesus.
Yo, I was a Jew too.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah, big time.
Total of everything.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm one of the best rabbis on the planet.
A rabbi, you're right. You're a rabbi par excellence.
So many people have called me a rabbi. I went to Israel and I woke up the senior rabbi there. I visited him in his home as Jesus Christ. He had an enormous revelation to it. It ruined his family. It ruined all the belief systems behind Hindu or their Hebrew belief system that Jesus was not, you know. And he came out after my conversation with him in realizing that Joshua was Jesus. And I told him no harm. You know, it's all a matter of time. And this is the time. And now it's time for you to have your Messiah. So he went out and told everybody.
I'm so glad to hear this. I'm so glad to hear this. I get it.
Yep.
I've been speaking some of this for a long time to my fellow Jewish and other friends. So I very much appreciate it. I really do. And I would be honored to play a role in helping invite you to New York City.
That'd be great.
You let me know when the time comes. And we should have a little conversation also offline about environmental technologies because I know people right in your general neighborhood who are making tremendous technological advancements to help empower people around solar and wind and generating for themselves free from the system grid.
Yeah, we're 100% thermal here.
But
All of this county, we provide electricity to San Francisco.
really,
Yep.
well, you and I will have some things to talk about on that level too, of renewable and sustainability and loving Mother Earth from that point of view. So, Buddha Maitreya the Christ, I want to just thank you from my heart for everything you shared with us today. Some of it was revelatory, some of it was explosive. It was all exciting, and I feel very nourishing. So, truly thank you for taking the time with us all today.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Having you on again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Yeah, and my words are very powerful. People are open to it and can let go of religion and accept the reality of Jesus Christ and the Avatar. We're going to get along real well.
There we go. To be continued.
Thank you.
So they rated for a better world. I hope you enjoyed that and appreciated it as deeply as I did. I want to just invite all of you to contact me at my direct email address of mjr@abetterworld.net. That's mjr@abetterworld.net. Share with me your thoughts and feelings and comments of your experience of today's show, and contact us also at our website and become a member of a Better World's family and community. We have a newsletter that goes out once a week. It's for free. We invite you to be part of it. And this interview will be aired not only on our radio show, but also on our community TV show here in New York City. So thanks again for joining. This is Mitchell J. Raven for A Better World, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.